Hey there, warriors. Let me ask you something. Do you like to know the ending or do you like surprises? Okay, so I'm not the kind of person who really likes surprises all that much. I like to know the ending. As a matter of fact, I have been known to scan the last chapter of a book or even fast forward through a show to see if it's worth my time. I kind of want to know, maybe not all the details, but I kind of want to know the ending. I think in a way, you might not be like that, but I think in a way, a lot of people are the same in that we'd like to know what's up ahead in the road. What we'd really like is some assurances, right? We'd like to know that things are going to turn out a certain way. And if they're not, then maybe we can brace for impact. Well, life isn't really like that, is it? It rarely goes as planned. And it's just a series of twists and turns. I think we all have to accept one universal truth. Life is messy. Sometimes it's smooth sailing. Sometimes things go great. Other times you're just sitting around going, WTF? What is going on here? How did I get here? How could this be possible? How can this be my life? I said that for 15 years in Jamie's Addiction. How can this be my life? How can this be? This is not what I hoped, wished, dreamed, planned. And I think that sometimes things are not that serious, but we still feel that way, right? We still feel that way on all sorts of matters. This wasn't the plan. It might be with a job. Suddenly everything turns around and changes, not for the better. It could be a housing situation. It could be finances. It could be relationships. The bottom line is that life is messy, no matter how much we try to put it all together and make it make sense. Try to keep it all in a neat little package. So I think one thing that we have to consider is that not everything is about the end point. And I'm using this metaphor of mountains because I love mountains so much. In fact, I was hiking this morning and I've always loved them. Even before I hiked, I love the majesty of them, just the enormity and the beauty. It's just something about mountains. But what we really want to know is what's around the next switchback? What's the trail going to be like when we get to this part? What we really want to know is what's the view going to be like when we get to the top or to the other side? Okay, so Rich has this really nice car, but it's a sedan. And I have a little SUV, and I would much rather drive my car because I can see, right? I'm strategic. I can see what's up ahead. I can plan. It's for safety's sake. And I think in that way, it's important. But sometimes we're too intent on wanting to know where's the next thing, right? Where, how's it going to be? Should I do that? I don't know. Maybe I won't do that because if I don't know what's going to happen here, then maybe I shouldn't make this decision. And sometimes we're just paralyzed by indecision because we don't know what's happening. We don't understand how we'd possibly get from point A to point B. And then if we do, like I said, what's it going to look like when we get there? So my great niece, she was about 2 at the time. She was going on a hike with her parents and they get to the trailhead and I guess she looks up at the mountain and she goes, how are we going to get to the top of that mountain? So Madison's little 2-year-old brain couldn't imagine, how is it possible? I don't understand. How are we going to get there? And I'm not sure what they told her, but here's what I've discovered. You want to know how you get to the top of your mountain? One step at a time. But again, our adult brains, doesn't take a 2-year-old brain, we have a hard time figuring it out, right? Because we get tripped up. I'm sure that was just an inquisitive question. And I'm sure as soon as her parents said, well, we're just going to go down this trail and up we go, she thought, fine, faith, belief, let's go. But we don't do that. We want to have 27 different evidence, pieces of evidence and proof. We want to understand. We want the way mapped out. We want to know. We're not going. But life is a climb, and you have to keep climbing, even if you don't know what's going to happen when you get there, what the view will be like at the top. It reminds me of a hiking story of mine. So I had this friend that, she's the one who shows up for a hike in white shorts, a white top, and a bottle of Evian. And this particular hike was on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington, and it's Mount Townsend, and it's tall. It's a strenuous hike. It's a few hours. And she was not in the best hiking shape to begin with, but she was determined. She wanted to come, but she complained the whole way up. She didn't want to sweat. That was one of her big things. I don't want to sweat. And she was sweating, trust me. And it was strenuous. But I went into full on motivational speaker mode all the way up. I would tell her, it's going to be worth it. You're going to love it. It's going to be a 360-degree view. Beautiful. It's going to be amazing. You can do this. Come on, let's go. So this goes on, right? All the way up the hike. We get to the top, and wouldn't you know it, completely socked in. We could not see 20 feet in front of our faces. There was no view unless you're looking at that rock over there, a tree. There was no view. And of course, she was looking at me like, really? You got to be kidding me. I still felt like it was worth it because I loved the hike. I was disappointed that I didn't get to see that magnificent view, but I didn't feel like it was all a big, loss, a big all for naught. I thought it was amazing. And I think I had her convinced of that too, until she told me the next day that she got up to go to the bathroom and she had to crawl. She was too sore to walk. So I'm sure she was second guessing her choice, right? But I love the climb. And I think that all of us, including me, I remind myself, by the way, when I have these podcasts and I'm giving out all this, wonderful perspective and advice, I'm thinking, I'm taking it in too. Don't forget. But we have to, in our own lives, have to think about that too. We have to just be more about enjoying the climb. And the reason I say the climb and not just enjoying the walk or the journey is I'm particularly talking about when times are difficult. Now, we can enjoy the walk for sure too, but I'm talking about those times that really challenge us and that we just want to end. We want to get to the top, importantly, get down the other side. But the climb is here to teach us so much about ourselves. It teaches us about the journey, about who we are. It also exposes other people and what they're about. And, it can give us a lot of information about relationships when we're in a struggle. Have you ever been in a difficult period of time and, your friends scatter? When things are going well, everybody's right there with you. And then when times are tough, not so much. I think that most of us have probably experienced that. I've definitely experienced that. I feel like most people in my family have pretty much scattered when it comes to, I'm still in the fire. I'm still walking through. It's going to be 9 years coming up in August since Jamie was murdered. And the next hearing is in July. We don't know if they'll schedule a trial then, but 9 years. And then, the trial will be torture. And then I just literally watched the other day, I was watching a show where this family, I think it's 14 times they showed up in the appeal process. So that's the part people don't really realize either. Sometimes I hear people that go, oh, well, you get through the trial and then, there's closure. Well, there might be closure of that chapter, but unless the person's in prison for life, and then of course, I never even trust that, especially in California where Jamie was killed, that, something might happen where they change another law that's in favor of criminals. So, you just don't know. But anyway, this poor family, 14 times. And it was said that this is the most difficult thing since their loved one had died. And what's interesting is we're just looking at the next thing, right? We're thinking, well, that we've been told that this trial will be the worst thing. since Jamie's death. But then in our future is probably, hopefully, he gets convicted. Let's first, hope and pray for that. And then if he is and it's not without parole, there will be all these parole hearings. And that'll be tough. I'm not gonna lie. Point is, I'm still in it, still in the fire. I don't expect people to be calling me every day, but for the most part, it's like, it's almost like she's never even lived, to be truthful, for a lot of my family members. And yeah, it's kind of hurtful. I'm not gonna pretend it's not. But the bottom line is that these situations expose so much about ourselves and about other people. And so they're here to teach us. They're really, the climb isn't here to destroy us. It's not to make it so that we can't get to the bathroom in the middle of the night. That's not really what it's about, although that does happen sometimes. Have you heard that Miley Cyrus song? I'm not a fan of hers or anything, but this song is great. I think it's called The Climb. And there's a couple of lyrics in it. There's always going to be another mountain. I'm always going to want to make it move. Think about that. Just those two lines. There's always going to be another mountain. When you get through one challenge, you will have another one. It might not be next week. It might not be for years. I feel like for me, the hits just keep coming, but the point is that we're always going to have these challenges. And then that next line saying, we're always going to want to make it move. Isn't that true? We want to make that mountain move. We don't want to have to climb it. We don't even want to have to go around it. We just want to have it obliterated. But it's just life. And I think that the sooner we can embrace it, the sooner we can say, okay, well, you know what? No matter what's up ahead, I'm going to keep climbing. No matter if you can't see 20 feet in front of your face when you get there, no matter what's around the next switchback, no matter how difficult the terrain, no matter how rocky or slippery. That's the thing about these hikes here, where I live in Phoenix and where I used to live in the Palm Springs area. They're very rocky. So there's a lot of boulders that you have to step over. Lots of them, especially here on these trails. Lots of them. And then a lot of loose rocks. So you have to really be careful of your footing. And so, I mean, it's always, you never know. I've slipped, I've fallen on both of my knees. Thought I cracked my kneecaps. I mean, I couldn't put pressure on my knees for 6 months, maybe longer. One of them still bothers me sometimes. And it was like 2 years ago when that happened. So, there's no guarantee about the terrain, but we go anyway. We go anyway. We go because it's good for us. We get through life's climbs and life's storms and life's difficulties because what is the choice, right? You're going to turn around and run? No, you get through it. And it really changes your attitude, changes everything about you and your quest for courage. And I hope you are on a quest for courage. I mean, truly, I talk about courage so much, don't I? Because life is tough. Without it, we're done. Courage is the most important thing you can build because it's the catalyst for everything else. So in my book, Burn the Map, I've got a couple of, you know what, I was going to say what they are today, but I thought, nope, I'm not going to give everything away from my book. There's a couple of stories of, I have about, around a dozen warriors that I tell some stories in that book. And they're kind of snippets. It just depends on where I've placed them. But throughout the book, their stories are laced. And it has made the book so rich and so amazing. I'm really, really happy about it. Two of those warriors are named April and Mona. And you will see each of them on an upcoming podcast episode. But their stories are laced throughout. And especially in this section on the climb, they each provided some really interesting perspective. And they are completely different stories from mine. They have nothing to do with my story. One is more of a childhood story, and one is of, a really difficult diagnosis. But what's so important is their perspective on the climb and how the challenges have changed how they view life in such profound ways. I'm really looking forward to you meeting these warriors, hearing their stories, learning from them and their perspectives. And in closing, I just want to remind you that you don't have to love the mountain. Okay. I'm not telling you to love that climb, but embrace it, respect it. It's not always about the destination. Sometimes you need to just let it be about the climb, what it can teach you, what it can reveal to you about yourself, about others, the courage that it builds within you.